As I think about my ministry, there are just so many instances of where I felt vulnerable and just really essentially ill prepared for the weight of what the Lord was calling me to. But I think the scenario that stands out the most was at the beginning of my senior pastorate. I had served as the assistant pastor in our church for many years, and unfortunately, the previous pastor fell. And the church had asked me to serve as the interim for a while before we really settled on our appropriate direction. And I felt very convinced that it was going to be very difficult, and that my wife and I, who had very strong convictions about what would be the Lord pleasing thing to do, would just really have a very difficult time. And I recall getting on my knees before the Lord and saying, Father, you have just got to give me a sign. I need to know that you want me to serve in this role. And I recall one Friday evening, I was at the church and I was going to have a meeting with some of the leaders, and I was working with a gentleman from our district. And two young people I'd never seen before came into the church, and they came in and talked with us for a few moments. And then the young man that was with these two, he turned to me and he said, "The Lord sent us in here to encourage you." And I was just dumbfounded. And I knew the Lord heard my prayer. I always knew God answered prayer and heard our cries, but I'd never felt the Lord be so directly responsive before. And I'm not one that looks for signs or anything like that at all. And I'm not looking for miracles. But I was very convinced that the Lord had heard my prayer and decided to just very manifestly to encourage me and to reassure me that though it would be difficult with what we would be facing, that it was my calling to pursue it. And I can say without any reservation that the Lord was there. He was present. He sustained me, my wife, and more importantly, our church.